Five Nights at Freddy's, the game that revolutionized the horror genre and paved the way for indie devs around the world. With its 10-year anniversary, I decided to play every single FNAF game. As I do that, I'm going to dive into the history of FNAF, the controversies, the impact, and how it's changed the world of indie games and fandoms, for better and for worse. Back in 1994, young Scott Cawthon released his first game, Doofus. You play as Doofus, and the objective is, well, honestly, I'm not sure. Just take a look at the gameplay for a second. Fast forward 20 years, and Scott releases Chipper & Sons Lumber Co., where you play as this beaver doing tasks for his father and the community. Scott had high hopes for this game, but after its release, it got slammed by harsh reviews. So harsh, they completely broke him. His passion project was getting torn apart, and on top of that, he was dealing with financial struggles. But after some time, Scott pulled himself back up, took what little faith he had left, and got to work. Little did he know that decision would change everything. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released on August 8th, 2014. Fnaf 1 got big before it was even released. People like Markiplier played the demo and made the game skyrocket in popularity.
Welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's. No!
To me, the game is extremely nostalgic. It came out when I was in 4th grade. I remember during recess I would watch other kids play FNAF instead of doing whatever you do outside as a kid. The game was simplistic, yet had a fun game loop. You're the night guard at an old pizzeria establishment. You just need to watch the cameras and guard the place from unwanted visitors. Unfortunately for you, this is not the biggest threat. Turns out the animatronics can move. The guy on the phone tells us that they might believe that we are either an endoskeleton or a suit with no endoskeleton. Basically, they want to kill us. You have a camera system that allows you to view the pizzeria from fixed locations. You can watch as animatronics move around the pizzeria, but be careful because again, they want to kill you. Chica and Bonnie will walk down the hallways. If they are close but you cannot see them on the cameras, they might be in your blind spot. Just check the lights, and if you see them at your door, just close the door. No need to watch for Foxy. It was believed that you had to watch him to stop him from moving at all, but just using the cameras can lock him in place. It doesn't hurt to check though. If he does end up leaving his cove, just close the door on the left. He always runs down the left hall. Once you see him back in Pirate's Cove, or if you don't hear him slamming on your door, you can open the door again. Freddy only moves if you don't look at him through the cameras for a certain amount of time. Just keep a camera on him for the majority of the time and you should be fine. The game difficulty drastically changes throughout the night, so you better get good at fast movement. Golden Freddy can also appear, but just put up your camera. At first he was just an Easter egg, but plays a much bigger role in the later games. I remember the old rumors and fake Easter eggs like Spark the Dog. I also remember the old theories on the game, like the one where the game took inspiration from a real-life incident that happened in a Chuck E. Cheese.
Is a tragic story, a disgusting waste of human life, and one that I won't joke about or make fun of in any way, but I want to address it because I have a strong suspicion that this story is the one that inspired Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, the game was simple, it was extremely impactful. Fan games, music, fan art, cosplays, theories, stories. The fandom was huge from day one. After beating the 5 nights, for some reason Mike Schmidt decides to go for a 6th night, and upon completing that night, unlocks a fucking 7th night. The 7th night is also known as Custom Night. It makes a return every once in a while, but it's actually in only 4 of the 11 games, with one being a game about a custom night. In the first FNAF, I remember when 420 was deemed impossible, until a YouTuber by the name of Big Bugs allegedly was the first person to beat this mode.
Yes! Yes! Oh! Sorry guys, we did it!
Scott commented on his video, so I believe it's safe to say that this is indeed the first win. FNAF was extremely influential, and it wasn't long before it got its first sequel. Before we talk about the sequel, let's talk about Scott's website. Scott Cawthon's website had already existed long before the FNAF games, but after the FNAF games got big, Scott used it to tease and promote upcoming FNAF projects, like this one for FNAF 4, this one for FNAF's sister location, and this one, and this one, and this one. This is probably, unironically, the most disturbing image you'll see in all of FNAF. There is a website that archived these images, and it's very interesting going through them and seeing all the teasers and secrets Scott posted. Unfortunately, the website was taken down after some controversies, which we will get into later, but at least the images were archived before that had happened. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was released November 11th, 2013, only 3 months after the first game. This game seemed to be a sequel, but actually turned out to be a prequel. It opens with this interesting scene where we see the first pizzeria in the eyes of Freddy. This cutscene pops up other times as well, with slight differences like Monty and Chica looking at you and whatever this thing is. This game tried to change the gameplay while trying to stay true to the original format. We are introduced to 6 new characters, all of which are countered by the same thing. Kind of. You get this Freddy mask that we can use to trick the animatronics into thinking you're Freddy. Wear the mask for these characters that either enter the room or sit in the vents. Either way, they'll eventually go away, as long as you're fast enough. The puppet is also introduced here as well. The only way to counter the puppet is by keeping this music box wound up. If the music box goes off, the marionette will kill you, no matter if you try to rewind the box nor if you wear the mask. It's game over. Flash your light on Mango when she is in the hallway. If he's in the vent, use the mask. It's very simple. However, that's not all the animatronics. Withered variants are also walking around, but they only require you to wear the mask, except for Foxy. Foxy is like Mango, only if Mango was only in your hallway, and by that, just keep flashing your light on him and you should be fine. The toy animatronics have an interesting design and honestly makes them more uncanny. Balloon Boy is also an animatronic, but he doesn't kill. He actually just takes the batteries from your flashlight, but it might as well just kill you because Foxy is an asshole. Golden Freddy also makes a return, but all you need to do is open the camera like in Fnaf 1, or just don't shine the light when he's in the hallway. Golden Freddy wasn't just an Easter egg, he is now part of the lore as indicated by one of the Fnaf 2 minigames. More on that later. This game seems harder than before at first, but the majority of the animatronics are countered by the mask, so putting your mask on right after you put the camera down is always a good thing to do. The nights in this game is exactly like Fnaf 1. You have an extra 6th night and a custom night. However, this custom night has pre-made challenges that you can complete. Once you complete one, not only do you get this little star, but you also earn a little toy on your desk. All the challenges aren't too bad except for the Golden Freddy mode. I could not do this no matter how hard I try. I even played on original hardware. That was really scary. Now let's talk about the minigames. Yes, there were minigames in Fnaf 2. To get them depended completely on RNG and only appeared randomly once you died. Each minigame reveals new characters, new plot lines, and several secrets. Purple Guy is introduced in the minigames as well, and it is quickly revealed that he is the murderer of the kids. Minigames also show that Marionette is an important character to the story. From my research, this is the first month that official Fnaf merch was released. Things were going fast for the Fnaf series, and it only took about 4 months for its next entry. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 released in March 2nd of 2015. This game went more in depth on Purple Guy from Fnaf 2. There is no power, just some systems you need to reboot every once in a while. Ventilation, cameras, and audio cues. Nothing happens in the first night, but in the second night, Springtrap is introduced.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. Gotta go, man. We'll look.
The only way to counter him is by playing sound bites and luring him away from you. There is also a new vent system. If you happen to find him in the vents, just close the vent by double tapping the camera icon. As nights go by, we are introduced to the Phantoms. Phantoms can appear in the cameras or in your office. The Phantoms aren't lethal, but they can distract you from Springtrap and make the night more difficult. As the night progresses, Springtrap moves more and systems need to be rebooted more frequently. Beating the game normally actually gives us a bad ending. This is the first FNAF game to start with multiple ending trend. This is also the first game to introduce the extras menu. You can see animatronics, cheats, game modes, and jump scares. To unlock the good ending, you need to complete secret minigames in a specific way during the 5 nights. The minigames can be found by using hints found in the minigames you get after you beat a night. Each secret minigame, if played correctly, has you putting the Phantoms to rest. While this doesn't affect gameplay, it affects your ending outcome. It is also revealed that Purple Guy is Springtrap. He became Springtrapped after being chased into a yellow bodysuit by the souls of the dead kids he murdered. If I'm gonna be completely honest, this is my least favorite FNAF game. I don't know if it's the gameplay or the aesthetic, it's just not my favorite. This was thought to be the final game in the franchise, but we all know that wasn't true. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was released in July 23rd, 2015. 4 games in under a year, only beat by Ban Ban. Return to the Doors and Lights. This game is completely audio-based and can actually be played with no visuals, hence the blind game mode you can unlock later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. What you must do is you need to run up to these doors and listen for breathing. If not, just use your light. If so, close the door until you hear footsteps walking away from the door. You also need to look on your bed and flash your light to ward off Freddles. If you don't, then Freddy will just kill you. Finally, you can check and close the closet door. You'll only need to do this when Foxy is there, which only appears on night 2. When he does appear, the closet door will move and make a small noise. Go to the closet and close the doors for a couple seconds. Check to see where he is and close again if needed. Once he's far back enough, you can return to your normal loop. Just be sure to close the closet door on Foxy every once in a while. At the end of each night, you can play this minigame called Fun with Blush Trap. Listen to Blush Trap walking and shine your light on him when you hear him walk on the X. If you do this successfully, you can start the next night at 2 AM instead of 12. You only have 1 chance per night, however. If you lose the night, you have to replay it at 12 AM. No exceptions. All animatronics get a scary makeover. I love the lean towards nightmare feel with these designs. After every night, you can play these minigames that gives us more lore. You play as this crying child who is terrified of the animatronics. Each minigame has secrets that reveal the story and timeline of FNAF. I'm not going to go into the lore of FNAF too much. There are hundreds of videos out there that can tell the story way better than I can. There's not much to talk about from nights 2 through 4. It's all the same as night 1 except with Foxy. However, night 5 is drastically different, yet fun. Only one animatronic appears, and that is Nightmare Fredbear, Golden Freddy before he became Golden Freddy. While at the bed, you can hear footsteps. If you hear the footsteps go to the right and stop, go and listen on the right side. If you hear breathing, close the door, and the same for the left side. If you hear a laugh, he's in the room, although sometimes he can give you a fake laugh. To determine this, listen for extra footsteps either before or after the laugh. If you do not hear extra footsteps, then he's either on your bed or in the closet. Counter him as you would with Freddy or Foxy. Beating the night takes a ton of concentration and patience, just like all the other games. After beating this night, we see this interesting cutscene with the crying child. While the child's suspicions were correct, and this also explains why Fredbear was the animatronic for Night 5. We get another extra menu as well. We get to see the characters, minigames, cheats, and... yeah, that was only funny the first time. If you were to type 2020 in the extras menu, Nightmare mode will be replaced by 420 mode. They're both the same, except 420 is a lot more harder than Nightmare mode. 420 in Nightmare mode has its normal animatronics until 4 AM. A new character is added, Nightmare. He is the same as Fredbear, but much more difficult. He's faster, he laughs a lot frequently, and if you mess up once, it's over. This is not everything, however. When you select to play the game, there is an option to set it to Halloween mode. This is technically the first DLC in a FNAF game. It includes Halloween-themed Bonnie and Chica, Mangle and Marionette are added, replacing Foxy and Nightmare, respectively. Nightmare Balloon Boy replaces Plush Trap, that fucker. This was also supposed to be the final chapter. While this is somewhat true, as it's the final chapter of the original story, obviously, there were more games after this. That's all for the game, except for this box. It was never revealed as to what this box was. There have been theories that the box contained the crying child, but that's only a theory. The only time the box was ever used again was in a non-canon book. Wait, what? On December 17th, 2015, Scott Cawthon had an idea. What if I started writing books? So that's what he did. I haven't read the books, and honestly, I'm not too interested in it, but I will still talk about it nonetheless. Let's see, Scott made 32 books. In the past decade, there has been 3 FNAF books, 11 Fazbear Fright books, 2 Fazbear Fright graphic novels, 8 Tales from the Pizzaplex books, 3 graphic novel remakes from the original 3 books, which I actually have, and 3 FNAF guides. These are all official FNAF books, not including the activity books. As of now, from my understanding, there are no new books that were announced or known for releasing soon, but who knows, that could change. While I've only read the graphic novel remakes of the 3 original books, I have not read any of the other books, but from my understanding, there have been many dedicated fans of the franchise who love and cherish these stories. Please tell me if you're one of these individuals in the comments and tell me what these stories mean to you. I'd like to learn about the books, and who knows, maybe one day I'll actually pick one up. Alright, returning back to the games. Fnaf World was released in January 21st, 2016. This game is completely different. It's an RPG. Scott decided to have more of a friendly style with this one. You start with 8 characters from both Fnaf 1 and 2. You also have 2 teams. In battle, you can switch between teams if you need to. For example, like if your team dies, or if it's for a specific strategy, whatever you need 2 teams for. The controls are clunky and it's not traditional turn-based combat. Instead, everyone is on a cooldown, and when they're ready to attack, you'll do so. The goal is to unlock the whole land and defeat the final boss. It's not too complicated. The game can be more in-depth, as it has plenty of lore and secrets within it. At one point, you beat an enemy named Pork Patch. You can get this key, which unlocks these doors that are spread around the map. Most of them have buttons on the other side. Pressing all the buttons unlocks the pathway to the final boss. Just before you fight the final boss, you must defeat the Security Owl. The Security Owl is really fucking annoying, but as long as you have the right bites and all this and that and whatever that is, you should be fine. Beating the Security Owl actually allows you to go to the final boss. After replaying the whole fucking game over again, I can finally go to the final boss. That's right, it's Scott Cawthon, and I accidentally instantly killed him. Yeah, if you have an insta-kill move, it doesn't tend to end well in the balancing department. Defeating Scott gives you the normal ending. But, of course, there are more endings, kind of. Once you get an ending, you get these little trophies that appear on your home screen. Defeating Chipper's Revenge is a secret ending, I guess. Old Man Consequences ending can be found by going down the 4th subtunnel, found during the last subtunnel near the end of the game. You can talk to Old Man Consequences, and then after that you can drown in this lake. Doing so has this loop play, but if you wait long enough, you actually see this interesting little Easter egg. The universe ending is obtained by playing on the fixed setting and having Fredbear be your first character. Once you start, the game will bug out and give you the universe ending. Clock ending is obtained by waiting for Fredbear on the done screen. He will then go all weird, and if you don't let him do that, the clocks won't appear. Collecting a clock enables a minigame. Each minigame is reminiscent to the clues found in Fnaf 3. You may have also noticed while opening doors at the end game, you open a door that has nothing behind it. Once you collect all the clocks, a portal will appear here, and walking through it will take you to this dark room with 2 glowing eyes, assumed to be Fredbear. Listen to Fredbear's speech about puzzle pieces or something, and you get the clock ending. There are 2 other trophies to get. One is by getting the pearl 5 times in this fishing minigame, and the other is beating Chica's rainbow before 3 minutes. For some reason, the trophies did not appear on my main screen. This is a strange yet interesting Fnaf entry. The game was met with mixed reviews. Both Scott and most of the fans had disliked the game, and none like it were made ever again. This game also introduced us to a new character named Henry, which becomes an important character in Fnaf 6. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location was released on October 7th, 2016. This game is extremely different from the previous titles. The animatronics looked completely different, the vibe was completely different, just everything was completely different. But it was still obviously a Five Nights at Freddy's game. The game actually starts with voice acting and finally gives us some names for the lore.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
Sister Location is the start of a new story. Kind of. The game is very different. All the nights are different. None are set in one place doing the same thing for 5 nights, which is awesome. It continues on Fnaf 4's audio-based gameplay. This is also the first game where you can move, which is a term I use loosely because the movement is very limited. It's only technically free roam when in Ballora's or Funtime Foxy's room. Anyways, night 1 is simple and impossible to lose. We are given basic controls. When Ballora or Funtime Foxy are gone, zap them. It's very easy. I just like to say I really love the style this game is in. It reminds me of Desolate Hope, which was a game Scott published right before his first Fnaf game, which let me know if you'd like a video on that. After every night, you go home and watch this soap opera about a vampire named Vlad and his wife, Clara. Apparently the story in this fictional sitcom has connections to the Fnaf lore, which is a very cool detail in my opinion. The night we just had is nothing like any of the other nights. As mentioned before, every night is different in some way. Night 2 starts with the ability to change the voice of the instructor.
I see what you were trying to type, and I will auto-correct it for you. Thank you for choosing Angsty Teen.
The Angsty Teen tells us about a dead body that was found in the vent that we're crawling in, which is cool. While doing my chores, the voice glitches and I end up skipping a Funtime Foxy. Later on, while trying to shock Baby, the power goes out. Baby tells us to hide under the desk. Once we're under the desk, we close this makeshift door. While hiding, eyes can be seen through the holes. Don't look at them, they are evil. After a while, Baby warns us that the instructor will lie about traversing through Bellora's room.
He will then tell you to crawl through Bellora Gallery as fast as you can to reach the breaker room. If you follow his instructions, you will die.
Instead, go slow and stop when you hear music. And don't move until that music stops. The instructor will tell us to move quickly, but that will kill you. This is a very cool area, actually. It incorporates audio and visual horrors. Once on the other side, we get to this maintenance room where you must restart the power in every room, one at a time. Funtime Freddy can slowly come close to you while you're doing this. This room was difficult for me at first, but I learned that you can hold the reset button for a max of 25 to 30%. Every time you hear movement or voices, play the cassette tape until you see Funtime Freddy back at his original spot. Once you do this, it's a cakewalk. It just takes forever. After resetting the power, you must crawl back. There is no music, but you can hear Bellora talking. Getting to the other side completes the night. This is only the end of the second night. As mentioned before, each night has a different unique objective, which is nice considering the past 4 games has us doing the same thing over and over and over again. This game also has plenty of secrets to find. For example, on night 3, I actually died in Funtime Auditorium, and after dying, I got this secret minigame. Similar to FNAF 2, it's more lore, but this has a secret paths inside. If you manage to satisfy every kid, you get this ice cream. Collect it and go to the beginning here, and shoot. Oh, that's not good. Also in night 3, we get to this area where we need to carefully open Freddy to remove a power module. This minigame must have been Scott's favorite because it is in almost every game after this. My favorite part of this night is after the Funtime Freddy segment, we have to crawl back to the auditorium. Don't worry, you're actually supposed to lose. I was so pissed at first and thought I had to do it all over again, but no, after this jump scare, it puts you in a new room and transitions into the next night. Night 4 has us sit in a suit with Bellora's mini-renas, trying to kill us, all while we have to keep these spring locks wound up. This can be intense and tough, but it's a cool segment, and also it's the shortest night in this game. Night 5 is pretty short. Before the night starts, the instructor tells us there are 2 people in the building and that we should ask them to leave if we see them. Baby is finally revealed in this night. She was seen in the trailer but never showed up until night 5. You must open her up and find this weird chip in her arm. After you get this chip, send her to the scooping room. Leave the maintenance room and follow Baby's instructions to the scooping room.
Go forward and left.
In this room, you can find all the animatronics have been scooped. Baby gives us a small speech about how they get this treatment lots of times. As she speaks, an amalgamation of all the animatronics appears in front of you. Until finally, after this, you get this weird ending where you look in a mirror and your eyes become purple. This is one ending, and of course, there are multiple endings. How do you get the other endings? Well, in night 5, when Baby's giving you instructions to the scooping room, ignore her and instead hold forward and right, and you'll end up in this room. I didn't know this at the time, but remember this minigame from earlier? Well, apparently, if you complete it by getting the secret cutscene, it allows you to enter this room. Otherwise, you hear access denied and die.
Access granted.
The good old FNAF office. You only have to face one animatronic, but what is this thing? Well, after all the animatronics were sent to the scooping room, they join up to create this amalgamation known as Ennard. This is a very tough segment of the game. You must be aware of everything and listen for all noises, and you must be smart with your power consumption. If you lose, you have to do night 5 all over again, and it is annoying. Remember what I said before, listen and be patient, which is clearly the series' main focus now. After you beat it, you witness the final Dracula cutscene. Custom Night has some new stuff in it too. All but Baby is here. Instead, it's Bonnet, Bidybab, Electrobab, Minarina 1 and 2, and Yendo. Well, apparently Yendo is actually Funtime Fredbear's endoskeleton. Custom Night has challenges you can beat with different difficulties, similar to FNAF 2. Completing a difficulty will grant you these stars for the challenge, 1 star for very easy to 4 stars for very hard. If you beat a challenge, you are presented with a cutscene. All cutscenes are different in some way, and get more interesting with each one until...
You won't die. You won't die.
But that's not all. That's cutscene 9 of 10. If you beat all challenges on very hard, you unlock this really cool cutscene.
I'm free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now.
And that's it for FNAF Sister Location. It's way different compared to the other FNAF games, and in my opinion, it's really fun. It's definitely one of my favorite FNAF games out there, and I'm happy Scott isn't scared of trying something new every once in a while.
Begin tape. Leaving Dead Space. 3, 2...
1.
Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator is actually FNAF 6. It was released on August 13th, 2019. This was actually a surprise release. It was supposed to be a non-canon spin-off, but actually ended up being canon and probably one of the best FNAF games. You start out by making your own pizzeria. You start with 100 Dillards and grow your pizza franchise. Once you run out of cash, hit finish, and familiar gameplay ensues. You don't need to survive for a certain amount of time. What you must do is complete these tasks, and once they're all done, you can finish the night. Seems easy, right? I'll get into that later. After completing all tasks, we finish the night.
Isn't over just yet. There is another aspect to your end-of-day routine, and that is inspecting and salvaging any animatronics found in the alley outside the back door.
This is where your gameplay and ending is affected. Every night you are given the choice to salvage or throw out an animatronic from the back alley. If you choose to throw it out, nothing changes and you get nothing. But if you choose to salvage, you are enabling an animatronic to enter your pizzeria. Remember those tasks I was talking about earlier? Well, some of them generate a lot of noise, which can attract these animatronics. You can salvage up to 4 animatronics, each one giving you more money than the last. After finishing this segment, the game sends you to the screen that shows you your earnings for the day and sometimes lawsuits. In the store, you can buy minigames and actually play some of them. You can increase your Faz rating, and when you reach a certain amount of points, you earn some money. Alright, let's play Fruit Game. I already beat it once, and it was kind of fun, so let's do it again. Oh, beat it, play it again one more time, and you get this interesting scene. Now, with that, let's finish and complete our tasks. On my first playthrough, I did not salvage anything and had no threats, which will give you the bad ending. Multiple endings, yay! We're gonna do a speed round. Go! Mediocre ending is by having 0 Faz rating. Blacklist by violating the Geneva Conventions. The lore ending, just play all 3 lore minigames and beat the game in any way. Bankrupt, Elon Musk style. Alright, there are actually 2 important endings that are insane and good. The insane ending requires the egg baby. Once you have that, go into the shift, and during the shift, turn off the monitor, then hold down the button on the monitor in game, then let go. Blueprints will appear, revealing Afton's plans while Henry talks to you about the blueprints. To cover your findings up, they call you insane and fire you. The good ending is completing the game with all 4 animatronics. While it's probably the hardest ending to get, in my opinion, it's probably my favorite ending of all FNAF, and once you beat it, you see this.
Now we can do what we were created to do. And be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
The game is not easy. You will spend hours grinding for these endings, especially blacklisting good ending. While I find this game much more difficult, it is by far one of my favorites. Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night was released on June 27th, 2018. It's not my most favorite entry. The last time I played it was July 21st, 2018 for 32 minutes. This game allows you to face off classic FNAF characters in one night. Freddy, Springtrap, Ennard, Phone, and Trash. This game has some lore to it and plenty of Easter eggs to find, but it is not as in-depth as previous titles. Fun? Sometimes. I thought 50-20 mode was impossible, but apparently it's very possible. Apparently we're actually playing as William Afton, and we are experiencing hell, facing off all the animatronics. Everything is orchestrated by this face. This is Cassidy, the last child Afton killed. Filled with rage, Cassidy has only one goal, to torture William. The secret cutscene solidifies this. Other than this, there isn't much to talk about this entry. It's a cool entry, but it's not as in-depth as Fnaf Sister Location or Fnaf 6. Developed by Steelwool Studios, which will be the franchise's main development team for the next few games, introduces FNAF into the VR world. After a long and painful setup, I got the game working. Also, apparently there was supposed to be a cutscene explaining the lore a bit better, but for some reason I never got it. FNAF Help Wanted is a collection of smaller games. The first 3 games are based off the first 3 games. Not much to talk about, except they feel so much easier than the originals and only technically go to night 4. The first unique-ish game mode is Dark Rooms. The first 2 games are fun with Plush Trap and Nightmare Balloon Boy from FNAF 4. The 3rd and 4th games are interesting though. Fun with Plush Baby is a game mode where you sit in a corner and have to flash your light on plush babies before they kill you. You have limited light, so use it sparingly, and survive till 6 AM. Funtime Foxy is exactly like FNAF Sister Location's Night 5. Flash the beacon, get to the other side. Foxy feels way more aggressive in this game mode though. The parts and service is where it gets really interesting. Your goal is to repair the main cast, and you must do so as carefully as possible with no errors. Exactly like FNAF Sister Location, when you have to open up Phantom Freddy and Baby. Bonnie needs his guitar repair, Chica needs to be cleansed of pizza and pesticides, Freddy has remnants of victims we must remove, and Foxy needs new batteries. Next up is Vent Repair, by far my most favorite game mode. In Mangle's Vent Repair, you must, repair the vents, by doing small tasks such as preventing gas leaks, switching power to a complete wire, and the classic electrical procedure, Simon Says. All this while Mangle slowly crawls towards you. As you progress, more vents open, which allows Mangle to appear in different directions. You can ward them off by shining your light on them. All in all, a fun minigame, but not difficult in the slightest. Next is Ennard's Vent Repair. This level is much more different from the last, as instead of one level with very easy puzzles, there's multiple levels. All this while you avoid Ennard. He doesn't actually need to be watched or warded off. He only attacks you if you mess up too many times or take too long on your task. Eventually you end up in a furnace room and burn Ennard. Next up is Night Terrors. This takes place in the Fnaf 4 location. The first level is Funtime Freddy. If you've played Fnaf 4, he is essentially Chica and Bonnie combined, except he also sends out his little Bonnie puppets into your room to jump scare you. They're not lethal, but can distract you to the point of your demise. Just shine your light on Bonnet and they will go away, and Bon can be stopped by closing the door from the hallway he's in. I can never figure this out, so I just let him jump scare me. Next is Night Marionette. See his eyeballs down the hall? Close the door. He will also summon his tentacles, but you can just shine your light on them. Night Marionette will get self-conscious and hide them. Pretty simple. Baby is by far the easiest of night terrors. All you need to do is wait for Baby to see you and close the closet door. She will then get hit by a neuralizer and forget where you are. Do not leave the door closed for too long, because then the plush babies will get upset and give you a Caesar's Legion treatment. Finally, we have Fredbear. He works exactly like how he does in Fnaf 4. The only difference is that he doesn't have any fake laughs. So if he laughs, check the bed or the closet. This game actually has a glitch in it. And by that, I mean when you play in the VR mode, Fredbear will kill you no matter what when he's in the closet. The best way I found around this is by just playing it on the PC version. Now, while you're playing the game, you may notice this lever on the side. Flipping it turns on blacklight mode, or nightmare mode. I don't know what this is called. But essentially, it gives you some extra little game modes with a funny gimmick, like doors and lights going off whenever in Fnaf 1, balloons in Nightmare Balloon Boy, an impossible challenge in Fnaf 3. It gives the game more content without having to throw too much new stuff at you. Throughout the game, you can find these coins and cassette tapes. The tapes can be accessed in the blacklight version of the Pizzeria and used for lore. The coins can be used to buy stuff at the price counter, like a basketball and roach. And now for the endings. Damn it, not the endings. We have the normal ending, merge ending, mask ending, and trapped ending. I forgot to mention this guy sometimes appears behind you, watching you play your silly little games. This is Glitch Trap. This is supposedly William Afton in computer form. I guess he somehow transferred his consciousness into the game and is the main antagonist, in a way, but back to the endings. Of course, each ending has a different way of obtaining it. If you want the canonical ending, which I can assume is the normal ending, all you need to do is beat all the games and unlock the final Night Terrors minigame, after which you will be put in the Fnaf 4 bedroom and must navigate your way through all the Fnaf games. It's a huge maze, I don't know how to explain it all, here's a map. When you finally make it through the maze, you get to a party. While having fun, you get it rudely interrupted by a glitch trap. However, for some reason you decide to follow him. Then next thing you know, you're stuffed inside Freddy, forced to watch Glitch Trap emote on you. The merge ending has you, merge with Glitch Trap and he possesses you, I think. And the trapped ending sucks and I hate it. You have to press a special combination of buttons for it to work. It makes no sense. We will talk about the other endings in a minute because they actually require the Dreadbear DLC. 11 new levels to play. We will speedrun through them because I can. Plushkin Patch, same as Plush Baby minigame, but in a pumpkin patch. Pirate Ride, shoot targets, get high score. Corn Maze, go through the maze, collect keys, avoid Foxy, and escape. I hate this one. Hallway, get to the other side of the hallway as fast as possible while avoiding the nightmare animatronics. Build a Mangle. Trick or treat, press the doorbell, pay attention to who's going to answer the door, and put the mask on, according to that animatronic. Dreadbear, Frankenstein, and finally, Danger Keep Out. Interestingly enough, a new ending was added. The mask ending. To get this, you need to collect all the keys in the corn maze and return to the spawn, and a cellar will open. You can find a Vanny mask down here. Back at the pizzeria, you can find the Vanny mask at the prize counter. Oh wait, where is it? Yeah, I don't know why, but after completing this obnoxious minigame twice, the mask just never appeared for me. Once you have the mask, finish the maze in the pizza party level just as you did before. However, instead of following Glitch Trap, walk through this door to the right and you can find a sign that teases Fnaf security breach. PT levels of marketing. Fnaf Help Wanted is a fun yet challenging game, one of the best VR games in my opinion. The only problem I have is the fact you need to beat the first 3 games with almost no new content. And the blacklight levels can seem a bit dragging, but other than that, good game. This is where the franchise makes a weird turn. Instead of releasing a traditional Fnaf game, Scott releases 4 spin-off type games. Fnaf Special Delivery, Freddy in Space 2, Freddy in Space 3, and Security Breach, Fury's Rage. The last 3 games were sort of joke games in a way, Freddy in Space 2, poking fun at the Fnaf 57 Freddy in Space minigame in Fnaf World, and we don't really talk about Freddy in Space 3. and Fnaf Security Breach Fury's Rage, which was created to help build hype for the AAA game, Fnaf Security Breach. But real quick, I'd like to talk about Fnaf's Special Delivery. Fnaf Special Delivery, or Fnaf AR, introduced Fnaf into, well, the AR world. It was a smartphone exclusive game that had you collecting all kinds of classic Fnaf characters like Freddy, Toy Chica, Radioactive Foxy, and whatever this is. Apparently this game is canon, and that all these odd characters are actually in the Fnaf universe? I never played it, so I have no opinion. Oh, and the reason why I'm showing footage of the game from Markiplier is because the game shut down on March 13th, 2024. While that's very unfortunate, the game had lower player counts and probably cost more money than it made, thus giving it a bittersweet ending. And real quick, I'd like to talk about the fanverse. On August 21st, 2020, Scott had opened the Fazbear Fanverse, where Scott can license games and give dedicated fans a spotlight to show off their work. The first games included Five Nights at Candy's, Pop Goes, The Joy of Creation, FNAF Plus, and One Night at Flumpty's. While despite all these things happening, Fnaf Security Breach was announced and is on the way, but hopefully nothing else bad happens involving the developers or its creator. Quickly, I'd like to apologize, as this section we will briefly talk about politics. Skip to this timestamp if needed. On June 16th, 2021, Scott Cawthon faced major backlash after records of his political donations were leaked. Scott Cawthon donated a large portion of his earnings to conservative parties throughout the years. Five Nights at Freddy's is loved by many people. However, the majority of those people are part of the LGBTQ community. When these donations were brought to light, a majority of the FNAF fanbase began to boycott Scott Cawthon. Knowing that he cannot fight these claims, Scott takes full responsibilities for his actions and makes a statement on Reddit about the donations. After this controversy came out, Scott made one last post on his website announcing his retirement. To this day, he is still heavily involved in the FNAF franchise, but I'm certain he will leave closer to the end of the movies. And with that, let's return back to the main games. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach was released on December 16th, 2021. Fnaf Security Breach introduced the Fnaf series into the free roam world. Even though we had things like movement in Fnaf Sister Location and kind of Fnaf 4, and we technically had free roam in Fnaf Help Wanted, this is the official free roam Fnaf game. I remember when this game was announced. It got me back into my Fnaf phase. I remember searching Fnaf on several of my social medias to see if there was any new Fnaf Security Breach content was released. They even revived the website idea. I counted the days down. The game was delayed twice. Extremely disappointed. If you knew anything about the Fnaf Security Breach Day 1, then you know exactly what was wrong with it. And if not, let me just break it down for you. It was an incomplete mess of a game. Doing anything made the game laggy as hell. Several game-breaking bugs were scattered throughout the game, optimization was terrible, AI was terrible, and the game was 70 gigabytes. This is right when AAA games started to gain reputation for having the worst release day experiences, and Fnaf Security Breach was not safe from this unfortunate trend. Talking about every individual bug would make this video longer than it needs to be. Just go watch this video, it's perfect. After the disappointment of a 70 gigabyte game, I uninstalled it and cried myself to sleep. Fast forward a year and a half later, and I actually reinstalled the game. Surely, after all this time, they ought to fix the game.
Right? Wrong!
Kind of. The game is still buggy and very laggy at times, but all in all, it's much more stable. Opening the game, we are introduced to this lovely little scene that introduces the Glamrock characters. Glamrock Freddy, Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, and of course, Roxanne Wolf. Nearing the end of this cutscene, we will see Freddy begin to malfunction. He detects something and collapses. We wake up and we are now in the perspective of Freddy. As Freddy's just doing his thing, we hear a voice of a child.
Shh! Will you shut up?
Who said that?
Turns out this tumor named Gregory climbed into Freddy while he was out, somehow. Like, weren't there people there? How did he get in without being noticed? Freddy tries to help us by suggesting talking to Vanessa, the security guard.
That is the security guard. She can help.
No, I don't trust her.
Gregory insists that she is out to get him, and asks Freddy for a better, more quiet form of communication. Freddy gives us something called a Faz Watch. This allows us to access cameras, maps, missions, and miscellaneous messages. For some reason the inventory isn't here, but instead it's on the pause screen. Leaving Freddy's room, we find a save button. I'm not a huge fan of the save stations. I prefer the save whenever type deal most games have, and having to hold down the button to save is very annoying. I get it though, it's so you don't accidentally save while being chased, so you don't get soft locked, but like, remove it if I'm getting chased. Just be sure to visit these things as much as possible. Crawling through the vent, we pass by the other rooms, which gives us a glance at the other characters' personalities. Roxanne is a narcissist, Chica is a super energetic, and Monty is from West Virginia. Climbing out, we are finally introduced to the Pizzaplex, and let me tell you, it is one of the most beautiful and nostalgic worlds I'd ever had the pleasure of exploring. It's on par with Liminal Images, and stuff you've probably seen in the early 2000s. This game also introduces us to Vanessa, the security guard from the Pizzaplex. I remember when people thought this was the character we were going to play as, but turns out she's not a good person. After her introduction, the game introduces us to its janky stealth mechanics. When you crouch, this eyesore appears and tells you whether you're hidden or not. In the bathroom, we see Chica eating something. The game teaches us about distractions, which is what I do to get past her. I only use this tactic one other time. After that, we get a taste of how chase sequences would be like. We have to run from both Monty and Chica, but of course, they had to add a stamina bar. Now, I hate stamina bars, especially if it only lasts like 2 seconds. You can increase the timer by collecting these drinks throughout the game. I forgot about this and only grabbed one upgrade that made Freddy's battery last longer. Whatever. In this game, instead of just hiding and waiting till 6 AM, we have to actually complete tasks to progress the night. At the beginning of the game, we are introduced to yet another new character, the daycare attendant. I can't see an infant child seeing this and not crying their eyes out. I mean, the guy goes evil once it gets dark. I hate you. You need to activate 5 generators. They can be found by tracing these glowing colored wires on the ground, which is hilarious to me because I remember when no one could find the generators, so they must have added these to make the sections clearer. The only other time the daycare attendant appears is at the end of each hour. The Pizzaplex will go dark and you need to find a charge station to be safe. Oh shit, it's Vanny. Later we finally have access to the Pizzaplex. Now all we need is a map.
Hi, please take this map. Take a map.
Fuck this robot. But you know another robot I hate? The endoskeletons. They behave exactly like Weeping Angels or SCP-173, which on paper isn't that difficult, but let me show you why it's difficult. Yeah, fuck this area. I don't like them. Later on, we learn that Freddy can be upgraded using special items that can be obtained by destroying the other animatronics. While getting Roxanne's eyes, we have to go to the West Arcade and go up against Music Man. Definitely not what you'd expect from the FNAF game, but that music is just too good. In my playthrough, I decided to go for the cool yet controversial ending. Yes, there's multiple endings, again, who would have guessed. In order to get these endings, you need to get all animatronic parts and go down to the sinkhole on Roxy's Raceways. At the bottom of the hole, we could find the old pizzeria. We need to activate these generators while avoiding goddamn end. In the pizzeria and down this hole, you can find this huge amalgamation only known as the Blob. This is a thing that is created with every animatronic. I don't know what it is, but it's pissed. While looking at this monstrosity, I accidentally fell down this hole.
They're so angry, confused. But I can protect. I am not me.
That's right, William Afton is back. Somehow. This is the final level of Security Breach. We need to survive for about 6 or 7 minutes. I forgot to write it down. What you need to do is prevent Afton from controlling Freddy by looking for him in the cameras and burning him. This boss has 2 phases. Phase 1 is when the 3 other animatronics will begin to attack. They're very easy to counter though. If Chica's coming down one of the halls, just close the door till she leaves. If Roxanne is approaching, get inside Freddy and use Chica's voice box on her. Finally, Monty. If Monty is near, close the vent above. Now the reason I find this very easy is because Freddy will announce who is near. Not only that, but for my gameplay, they only appear once. I don't know if this happened to anyone else, but to me, it was very easy. After this happens, phase 2 will commence. Basically, the blob will appear and put its weird tentacles through these vents on the floors and ceilings. All you need to do is avoid touching any of them, and you should be golden. Now, when you complete the fight, a cutscene is supposed to play, but look what happened in my playthrough. Yeah, I died during the cutscene. This has to be a bug since the game release, and 2 years later, it's still in the game. Anyways, here's the cutscene without interruption. And with that, ladies and mental gens, if Fnaf Security Breach. Look, I really want to love this game. I love the art direction, I love the new animatronics, but the bugs and major imperfections the game has makes it very difficult to enjoy. Just like Fnaf Help Wanted, after the game is released, it's just sort of left to rot. I love you, Fnaf Security Breach, but you have some problems. Five Nights at Freddy's Ruin was released on July 25th, 2023. FNAF Ruin was the highly anticipated DLC for FNAF Security Breach. We follow Cassie, not Cassidy, a little girl who got a distress call from her friend Gregory. She travels to the Pizzaplex and we learn that the Pizzaplex had long been forgotten and abandoned. I see this as a loss of childhood innocence. Something happy and lifelike is eventually reduced to ruin. Our goal is to find Gregory. We pick up a flashlight and head into the ruined Pizzaplex. The one thing I love about this DLC is how linear it is.
Free mask. Please take a mask. Take a mask. Take a mask.
This fucking robot shows up and gives us a, oh shit, look, it's Vanny. Putting the mask on puts us into this weird AR digital dimension where Helpy decides to forcibly put a neural link in our heads.
Ow! That hurts.
Helpy's only here to give us hints for some puzzles, and to have some storytelling elements, but other than that, he's virtually useless. The mask itself is questionable, as some objects can straight up disappear when the mask is on, allowing us to phase through them. I don't know how this technology is possible, but then again, we are in the same universe as Liberty Chica, so I'm not too surprised. Fnaf Ruin is very different from the main game. The puzzles are unique, the story is questionable. The DLC's puzzles are definitely my favorite, like in this area in Bonneville, where you need to lead the music men away from the child node. One thing I'd like to point out is that 40% of the game is walking, which is a good thing because then it gives you a second to look at the environment. The main game has a lot of walking too, but it's hard to look at the environment when everything is a threat. Honestly, I prefer this a lot more because then it makes the pacing a lot more consistent and it doesn't overwhelm me with a bunch of flashy locations and objectives. The security camera puzzles are one of two things. Either you need to use it to lure animatronics to certain rooms using the intercom, or you use it to find anomalies that can open up passages for you. The anomalies require you to keep your mask on, which isn't a good idea, because if you have it on for too long, this security entity will appear, and when it catches you, it alerts an animatronic to you, so you have to do these fast. But sometimes you'll be in an area with a signal jammer, which forces you to keep the mask on until the signal jammer is disabled. This can be annoying, especially while in Roxy's Raceway, when you have to complete this anomaly puzzle while having a signal jammer active and on the other side of this object. And if you're too slow, you have to complete the puzzle while the security entity chases you. You also have to do it in one go. If you leave the monitor, it resets the puzzle. In this DLC, the daycare attendant makes an appearance. Once you reboot him, he turns into Eclipse, which I learned was actually a fan-created character until Steel Wool decided to add him in the DLC, which is a nice thing to do. There's also portals, which don't make sense at all, but whatever. There's an interesting Easter egg in Bonneville, however. As you play through the game, you may have encountered these wet floor bots around the Pizzaplex, and if you were to wear your mask, you can disable these bots. If you were to disable all 27 signs throughout the first 7 chapters, then the secret bot will appear in Bonnie Bowl. Once you disable this final bot, then a secret door will open, which will reveal a dismembered glam rock Bonnie. Now, there's tons of talk about Bonnie in FNAF Security Breach ever since Freddy mentioned him in the main game. Interestingly, if you disable these 4 signs around him, his eyes will stop glowing. Similar to completing the minigames in FNAF 3 would put the souls to rest. So I believe this is putting Bonnie's soul to rest? I didn't mention it before, but this Princess Quest game has played an essential role in FNAF Security Breach. It's a metaphor for Vanessa or Vanny. In Ruin, you can find this lovely scene. Seeing it here can symbolize how Vanny defeated the simulation, and the silhouette of Glitch Trap on the wall solidifies that idea. Right after this room, we climb through a vent that has writing that alludes to Freddy, but not in a good way. The vent takes us to Fazer Blast, where we can find a prototype Freddy corpse.
Freddy! Freddy? Are you okay? He's functional.
Yeah, the vent wasn't lying. Luckily, this section is nothing more than a chase sequence, but at the end is where it gets interesting. You find the signal blocker, and if you're quick enough, you can shut it off and put the mask on. But for some reason, Freddy will disappear. But then I remembered that Freddy could not see Vanny, and clearly Vanny could not see Freddy, so perhaps him being in safe mode had disrupted his appearance in Vanny's database? That still doesn't explain the prototype ripping on his foot, but whatever. Right after this segment is my least favorite part, not because it's hard or anything, but I have to disable my second favorite animatronic.
Roxy.
Cassie, your special day. I remember. Your special day. Have you booked your party? I'm sure your friends will show up this time. Cassie? What are you doing?
Sorry.
I love carrot cake. Happy birthday, Cassie.
Roxanne. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Down the sinkhole, we actually find the Candy Cadet from Fnaf 6. If you paid attention and collected all Fnaf's coins, you can hear his entire story. He talks about how the child was afraid of a monster, and so the mother locked the monster in the basement. The mother sang a lullaby to the boy. Eventually the monster learned the lullaby and tricked the child into opening the basement. I hope this doesn't hint towards future character that conflicts the lore of everything. Traveling down farther, we finally make it to the office from the Afton ending in Security Breach. We find the entity's main server and deactivate it. After that, Gregory should be behind this wall.
Gregory, you okay?
You saved me. You saved me.
Gregory?
I'm Gregory.
You're not Gregory. What are you?
I'm Gregory.
Get out of here! Run!
Yep, turns out that story by Candy Cadet was actually a warning. Roxanne holds onto the mimic, yes, that's its name, and gives us a head start to running. As we're running, Gregory gives us instructions to escape to another elevator.
Cassie, it's me, your fault. I know you did it for me, to save me. But we can't risk being followed. I'm sorry.
Gregory? No!
You know what? Mimic or not, fuck Gregory. This is the betrayal ending. Yes, more endings. There's also the Brazil endings, which is where you ignore Gregory's instructions and see this weird ending. It's called the Brazil ending because it's a reference to a movie named Brazil from 1985. There's also the Scooper ending, and in order to get this ending, you need to find all 4 secret cameras, and just look at them. They can be found by zooming out on specific cameras throughout the game. If you don't do this, the door to the scooping room remains shut and you die. This is the most interesting ending. It starts with the mimic wearing this strange suit. I don't think anyone knows where these suits came from. It seems to be a Frankenstein suit consisting of an elephant, a bird, and maybe a lion. Instead of going right at the end, we go left, which takes us to the scooping room, similar to Fnaf's sister location. We press the button and the mimic shows up in this weird costume, but before he can do anything to us, the scooper does this thing. I think the suit represents the fact that the mimic can mimic almost anything. As for the Brazil ending, I don't know. I guess it's just a false ending created by the Vanny mask, maybe hinting to Vanessa's fate. This one makes no sense to me. And with that, we are finally done with Fnaf Security Breach and its DLC. On May 16th, 2023, the first trailer for the Fnaf movie was released. This was big for Fnaf fans, as it was rumored for years that a movie would be created for Fnaf. Scott Cawthon told everyone that the script took a while to write due to the fact that he wanted it to be perfect. On October 27th, 2023, the movie was released. It was met with mixed reviews. Movie critics gave it a low score, but the audience gave it a great score, actually. The movie had a budget of $20 million and managed to earn close to $300 million in the US and Canada. In my opinion, I love this movie. But I think the movie is a great Fnaf movie, but not a good horror movie. There were several cool kills in the movie, but it played more into the shocking nature of the animatronics killing people. It should have played more into the creepy and uncanny nature of everything. It also felt a little bit strange as the animatronics were helpful to Mike. It felt out of place, but then you consider the fact that the souls of these robots are children, so I guess it makes sense that they act like children. Also, the weird thing with Vanessa being William's daughter, but whatever. I get it though. You don't want the movie to be a one-to-one recreation of the game, because then who's gonna watch it, you know? Also, non-fans may get bored watching FNAF 1 gameplay, but in real life, I think it's a good movie, and I'm very excited for the next movies.
Strap yourself in and get motivated to an appropriate degree. Because you ain't seen nothing yet.
May 24th, 2023 comes around. The PlayStation Showcase is doing its thing and boom, new FNAF VR game is announced. December 14th, 2023 rolls around and the game is released. And that's all I remember. For some reason, FNAF How Wanted To just didn't get as much attention as the other FNAF games, from my perspective at least, except for the occasional funny clip on Twitter. I was exposed to very little information and content for this game, so entering in this game was almost a 100% blind run. I was very excited to see Roxanne, as you can tell. After the cute intro reminiscent of FNAF 6, we are thrown right into the game. The main world is super cool, and as you play, things will change. Our main thing we must focus on is this center console. This is similar to the console from the first game, except you can choose other games right off the bat. It also has more games. My favorite part of all this is that it's not just remakes of old FNAF games. Sure, they reuse many gameplay elements from previous games and remake only a couple of the nights, but they never just remake a FNAF game in VR as an entire section. There are a lot of games, and if we were to talk about all of them, then this video would be longer than it needs to be. So I'll only be talking about my favorites and the important ones. Glam Makeover has us giving Roxanne a makeover. And I mean, come on, who wouldn't love this one? You have to give Roxanne a makeover using this terminal on the right to give you instructions as to what you need to do to her. Giving her makeup, new glasses, but you have to keep your eyes on her. It's similar to the Foxy repair minigame, but you actually have a bar so you can look away from her if you need to. Besides the fact it's Roxanne, I actually enjoy this minigame for some reason. After this game, on the stage a box appears. Opening it gives us a toy reminiscent of a mecha. This ad plays in front of us, which shows us that these toys are like mecha, Transformer, Power Ranger type toys. You unlock these throughout the game, and they do play an important role later on, which we will get into later on. After saying hi to Roxanne, I continue gaming. The next game I'd like to talk about is Food Prep. Some people have found this game to be difficult. Ironically, I work at a restaurant. I know what I'm doing. All you need to do is look at the order on the screen above you and match it by putting it on this tray. And believe me when I say this, the way the customers act and the way they demand their food is scarily accurate. Another game I really enjoyed was this medical training game where you need to find out what's wrong with Helpy and find humane ways to help him. The best part is when he starts to scream in agony like a little bitch, you have to put this mask on him to calm him down. Otherwise he will attract an animatronic which will get you killed. But don't worry, it's okay because we give him a little treat afterwards. Here's a game I absolutely fucking hate, Fizzy Faz. I won't talk much about it, but just know I hate it. It's hard, and if people can't do the jobs, then robots should. So why do the robots not want to do their jobs? DJ Music Time is really fun. You have to match DJ Music Man's song and he will decide if you can join his group or something. Bonnie Bowl is bowling. I'm really good at this one. They add these obstacles to make it harder, but my favorite is when the plush babies appear because you can do this. Okay, now we get into our actual important minigame. Phaser Blast. The first round gives us a fun Phaser Blaster, but the second one unlocks the Phase Wrench, and if you remember in Ruin that these are used on these, then we can put 2 and 2 together. Hopefully. Upon opening this door, we find a signal jammer and a Princess Quest arcade cabinet. The Princess Quest game is used for an ending later on. If you remember what the signal jammer does in FNAF Ruin, you'd know that it makes it impossible to take the Vanny mask off. Using that hint on the poster, we learned you have to put your hand up to your face and take off a Vanny mask. We are now in Freddy's Pizza, similar to the one we find in FNAF Security Breach. Being in this world unlocks those corrupted files from before. Most of these are similar to the Blacklight levels, where it's the same minigame, but with a gimmick and usually very difficult. My least favorite games are Fizzy Faz. If it was hard the first time, it'll be harder the second. And wait. Endo? This game combines my least favorite elements, Security Breach endos and memory games. Yes, on top of having to avoid endos, you also have to program this endo in the center of the room. How do you program the endo? By playing this memory game. Look, I know it's child levels of puzzle solving, but for some reason I have the memory of a peanut. I don't know what's wrong with me, doctors have created theories about it. The final levels I play are the office levels. The first one is with Ennard, which is so easy it's hilarious. Puppet Master, slightly more annoying, but still quite easy. It's Fun Time Gang is where it becomes more difficult. You have to avoid 3 animatronics: Funtime Chica, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy. Funtime Chica is countered by moving this cupcake on your desk. Foxy works similar to Foxy in Fnaf 1, except he can go down either hallways. But Freddy is the most interesting. When he attacks, he will play a voice line. Once you hear this voice line, you have to look down the hallways and the vent in front of you, and when you see Bon Bon down any of those spots, you have to close that respective door. I like this one because it utilizes the VR aspect a lot due to the fact you can't see Bon Bon on the cameras. Cool concept, easily counterable. The reason I find this so difficult is the RNG with Funtime Foxy and the power. The final game has us playing children's game with Baby, flashlight tag, hide and seek, and red light green light. Flashlight tag is like the plush baby minigame, hide and seek is like the plush baby minigame, but red light green light is red light green light. But it's quite a tense section, but as long as you're quick, you can finish it easily. After finally completing this game, Baby comes to the office to visit us. We're now all done, kinda. Remember those 80s toys we got at the beginning? Well, if you paid attention, we slowly got more and more as we played the game, and when you finish the games, you can unlock all of those toys and beat the game.
Take a mask. Take a mask.
Wow, we were the mask bot from Ruin all along. The second ending is a bit more interesting. Through the game, you can find these plush babies, and if you collect them all, you can find a coin in the main pizzeria and play the Princess Quest game, but in VR. Beating the game plays this. I don't know what this could mean. If I were to guess, I think the first ending is canon, because if we kill Glitch Trap, he would have never forced us to give Cassie the mask, thus making Ruin non-existent. Although I heard that both endings are canon, but I'm not too sure about that. Fnaf Help Wanted 2 is definitely much better than the first Help Wanted. They don't recycle too much gameplay, but they do try to make something new out of it. There are 3 games that are remakes, but even then, they made it different enough to be fresh. While I appreciate the remakes in Help Wanted 1, I really don't feel like replaying the first 3 Fnaf games, but besides that, these are really good games. Well, it's been a long decade, hasn't it? Five Nights at Freddy's is actually 10 years old now. I remember back when Fnaf 2 released, I made a joke with my friends that we would get 10 games. Even though the series had some downs, it definitely had some ups. Five Nights at Freddy's is a cultural phenomenon. It changed horror and indie developers forever. The franchise just shows how impactful one small decision can be. I am curious how the future of this series will take it. After Scott's departure, I wonder if future games will even feel like a Fnaf game. This also applies to the books, movies, and merchandise. I am curious though, if you have theories for the future or have a story related to the games or books, tell me below. I'd love to learn about your experiences with this franchise and how it affected you. Thank you to everyone for watching this video. I thank the fandom, and of course, I thank Scott Cawthon. And I'll see you in the next video.